Reading, understanding, and processing business documents like contracts, annual reports, and press releases is a business-critical activity that involves hundreds of hours of subject matter experts' time. How about delegating this complex task to AI? BotMind's AI technology understands and processes business documents just like humans. BotMinds can do the first-pass processing for you and can convert even a 1,000-page document into a simple summary. Subject matter experts only have to do quick validations and corrections, thereby realizing a 90% saving in time spent. BotMinds can be customized for your document types within a few minutes in a one-time process. You upload your documents and teach the system what it should look for in the documents with a few examples and get AI-powered document processing for your enterprise immediately. BotMinds is for intelligent document process automation in minutes.
Hi everyone, this is Ekta from the Analytics team. Am I audible? Am I clear?
Yes, Ekta.
Thank you, Vikas. Okay, thank you all for joining in. So in a meanwhile, when everyone is settling down, we would like to share a poll which has a QR code. You need to scan it and visit the website and understand the problem statements for the complex financial documents. So this is a poll. You can scan the QR code, which is displayed here. And as you can see, it mentions which finance process in your organization deals with unstructured data. So just visit the, yeah. So yes, Vikas, can I start now? We're done with the poll. Vikas, you are on mute.
Yes, Ekta, go ahead, please.
Okay, I'll start with the introduction. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vikas. So hello all, a very good afternoon to everyone. Myself, Ekta Dubey, and on behalf of the Analytics team and our presenting partner, BotMinds, we welcome you all and thank you for being part of our webinar, Intelligent Data Extraction from Complex Financial Documents. Now, before we start the webinar, there are a few guidelines that I would like to highlight and make you people aware of. Requesting all the attendees to be on mute when the speakers are taking the session. There would be Q&A after each session where the attendees can ask the questions, if any, to the respective speakers. The guidelines are you need to raise your hands, unmute yourself on your video, introduce yourself, your name, company, your designations, and put your questions to the concerned speaker. So I'm clear with the guidelines. Now to start with, I would first like to introduce our presenting partner, BotMinds. Their goal is to help businesses understand data and take fast and accurate decisions. They use their patent pending AI and ML technology to extract insights from documents and websites and get their customers up and running within a week. They enable end-to-end intelligent automation that is highly customizable, needs no code, and takes 90% less than standard sample data to train their engines. Using BotMinds technology, the customers can build custom models to read, understand, and summarize from documents and website within hours. BotMinds AI's core components specialize in reading and understanding large content and unstructured documents just like humans do. BotMinds as a platform helps you to create an end-to-end information retrieval pipeline for your documents in minutes. You will get the power of AI in your enterprise with just simple point and click activities without having to worry about data ingestion, cleaning, machine learning models, algorithms, etc. You will roll out the entire document automation solutions within days. So, no doubt RPA has been the foundation for the next era of automation, and when combined with artificial intelligence, it results in faster and easier business process, all reducing cost. Processing unstructured data in finance, like in the case of KPOs, can often be complicated, fragmented, and time-consuming experience involving human intervention and multiple systems. We all know document processing, but in this digital age, businesses are starting to harness intelligent technology such as artificial intelligence and machine learning to streamline document process. The global market for the intelligent process automation is expected to reach almost US dollars 6.9 billion by 2025. And knowledge process automation is a key part of the overall story. Now, this webinar will focus on the potentials of AI and RPA for advanced document understanding in finance to speed up knowledge processes like spreading process automation for annual reports, extracting key values from annual reports and mapping to taxonomy, company comparable analysis, compare performance of a new company to the existing list of companies. This was a small intro. Now moving forward, to start with our first keynote session, I would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Vikas Anand, Vice President, Sales and Marketing from BotMinds. He is currently the VP, Sales and Marketing, and has over 20 years of industry experience with HCL, Infosys, and Blue Prism. He has spent 18 years in outsourcing, consulting, and sales with global clients like Apple, Best Buy, Deutsche Bank, to name a few. The last 5 years, Vikas has been with the ARPA and intelligent automation industry, helping organizations in their digital transformation journey in identifying the right tool sets to solve their business challenges. And he is going to share his insights on going beyond OCR and RPA with AI for knowledge process automation. Over to you, Vikas, to start with your presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Ekta. Just checking, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Vikas.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for joining in. Um, we have a couple of topics today, and a few of them that you see on the screen essentially are how do we go beyond, OCR and RPA. And all of this idea is to look at, document processing, document understanding, which essentially is a very large part of data that we currently handle. So Gartner essentially estimates that over 80% of the data that we currently have as part of our enterprises is unstructured data, and only 20% of that is structured data. Now, RPA has kind of taken, a very good leap in terms of its usability in last, couple of years, although it's been around for about 18, 20 years, roughly in one shape or the other. But RPA essentially starts with handling only structured data or semi-structured data. By that, if you already have a predefined process, you have structured data, RPA can handle that. Yes, of course, the boundaries of RPA has been expanded, in the last 2.5 years, with the addition of intelligent automation when it comes down to building the other components of AI and so on and so forth. But complete automation essentially requires you to handle the unstructured data as well. And as the poll that I just ran, a couple of minutes ago, I think there are certain, candidates which already exist, which means that you have unstructured data within your organizations, and you're either handling them manually or you're handling them otherwise. So what different types of unstructured data essentially is you've got PDF documents, you've got your contracts, you've got your lease documents, you got your open web as well, where data essentially does not exist in any particular structure. And before going through on that, I just hope you have all gotten a bit of idea in terms of how to use that poll. I want to be able to use that a couple of questions to you. I'll ask that in the middle of my presentation just to make it a bit more interactive. Even though I'll be speaking for the first 15, 20 minutes, I want to get some input and feedback from you during that time. So we also see that the unstructured data essentially is expected to grow annually between 55 to 65% per year. What that really means is that we do need to have a way of handling unstructured data. Currently, it's an RPA plus or manual plus, some of the ways. So today, I hope to be able to give you certain answers or certain thoughts in terms of how we look at it as an unstructured data. All right. So looking at this, chart here, you see on the x-axis, you've got the potential business impact. On the y-axis, you've got the ease of automation, low and high. So the very first section which exists is the data that is processed currently regularly with automation. And that's where most of the organizations at the moment operate, because it's an easy to process data, that's low hanging fruit. You look at the processing that gets done either in the offshore BPO, KPO, or with your clients, and then we look at those as the possibility. And these are very easy candidates. The second piece that comes in is under the category of hard to process data, which essentially requires some bit of manual handling, which is either massaging the data or preparing the data so your RPA can kick in, so your other BPM processes can kick in and start handling it in some automated fashion. Now, the third, and this example would be your large documents, documents which have multiple attachments, documents which span through multiple sub-documents, as well. The third category of data is your hard to understand data, which is not usually automated and mostly manually processed because the technology that currently exists is not ready to a large extent to handle. It's already, it's of course in a very development stage. Technology has moved leaps and bounds, but the things like tables, complex documents, presentations, multi-column tables, etc. For us human beings, tables are very easy to understand, but for a machine to read, for a system to read, it still reads left to right, and that is not the right way of reading a table. So these are the sections which are hardly automated. And usually most of the organizations are pretty happy, automating pieces which is easy to process and then looking at how to process that. They don't usually try looking at something that is hard to understand, looking at automating that. And beyond this is the dark data zone, which essentially exists, which is very, very hard to acquire. It's basically open data. And what that means, it's a free-flowing, free form. And imagine the amount of information that you will be able to extract for your organization, for your clients, once you have the access to this dark data zone. Just to put things in perspective, think about Facebook, think about the other social media tools. Facebook essentially right now has over 5,000 data points on every human being, and that is something that they collect over the entire landscape where we travel, where we surf on the web, and what assets we have, and so on and so forth. And they have the hold or ability to capture all this information and then use and sell it to their advertisers. Of course, we know their business model, but that's where the dominance comes from. All those other social medias, which media platforms which do not have a handle or do not have this wealth of data or data points from the dark data zone, are not thriving as much as Facebook at the moment. All right. So with that out of the way, I want to just ask a quick question at the moment. If you could just please either scan, the QR code from your phone, or go back to the same place on Slido and enter this, code over there. If you could just provide me a couple of inputs. The question really is, RPA can automate processes that have unstructured data inputs. I'd really like to know a couple of thoughts, from your side. Do you think it can be done? Or do you think it cannot be done at all? I'll just give 30 seconds to this. All right, that's pretty interesting. So we started with RPA cannot automate unstructured data, and we are back with RPA can automate unstructured data. So thank you everyone for your participation on that. I'm gonna stop that poll now. So let's look at what the way we look at it, the way I look at it, having worked with the industry leader within RPA, having worked with the RPA side and the AI side, as well as the consulting side. So yeah, there is no doubt that RPA is here to stay. It's absolutely no doubt about that, and there's also no doubt that RPA will definitely grow in terms of the types of things that it can do. But the challenge with RPA really is that it needs to depend on AI, ML, NLP, and other technologies. Now, some of the RPA vendors have decided to embed these technologies within their platform, and some of them have decided to keep it, outside and use the best platform that is kind of available. But a true RPA definition by itself essentially means that it only looks at structured data to a large extent. Yes, we are looking at expanding the horizon with the intelligent automation, AI, NLP, etc., like I mentioned. So the challenge with handling, RPA or doing it manually or a combination today is that there is a lot of unstructured data, right? I mean, there's 80% unstructured data that exists in the enterprise. There are multiple documents. So if something that needs to be looked at from multiple angles, and that's where we have KPOs, right? Beyond the BPOs, which essentially BPO is the process that gets handled, predefined to a certain extent. KPO is knowledge workers. You can mix the definition of what, but the whole idea is that there's an SME sitting on the other side. The knowledge resides within the SME, and he or she needs to take an educated call on the basis of the data that is being presented as an analyst, as a reviewer, and then take some action, right? So there's a knowledge portion which is involved, which is what will come from AI. Doesn't really inherently sit within the RPA. So when you talk about multiple documents, that a lease document needs to be looked at, but there are 7 other attachments to it that need to be considered. We've got a challenge there when it comes down to RPA. Then it comes down to size. Most of these documents have roughly about 100, 200 pages, 1,000 pages, etc. When you look at substituting that or supporting that with manual inputs, then you're looking at context. So a context could essentially get lost. The moment you extract something from a document and send it for a review, unless you're following strictly within the BPM chain, the moment you go into an email, etc., By the time the reviewer comes through and it comes down to the original person, you need to spend some time to see where exactly did I pull this context from, how does it fit in, and so on and so forth. And then you have a chance that a lot of people may be working on the same problem, and because it's people, because it's working on a large processing document, a large document that needs to be processed, it is basically prone to errors. So basically an RPA plus manual could work, but there's a lot of scope for improvement there. So what else can we do? I mean, we can look at organization which essentially can build a solution in-house, and that could be a fantastic option as well. But there are some challenges with that. You've got complexity to build. You of course you need to spend it's expensive to build the entire thing. It is time consuming. You need to hire specific dedicated team of data scientists, data engineers, etc., to be able to put everything together. Even if you do that, the development of AI, if you take on certain models and you basically build on a very specific solution, the edge cases up to a certain extent get left out. You're only 70, 80% of those problems, which could be good enough. But the other problem that comes is that as an organization, if you're a KPO, if you're a BPO, if you're service provider, if you're an investment bank, that is not your core area. Your core area is what you currently do. Building a technology from scratch is possible, but that's not your core area. So a third option that comes out here is that you look at out-of-the-box solution, and which is great. Out-of-the-box solutions are point solutions. So this could be something like invoice processing. This could be something like evaluation of privacy policies, evaluation of the contracts that are being signed. The challenge with out-of-the-box, single point solution is that they are partial solutions to a large scheme of things that you may want to do. What that means is that they may do everything within the invoice processing, but invoice may just be one of the 7 things that you need to do to be able to complete that cycle. They don't handle all unstructured data completely because they only handle the unstructured data that they are meant to handle. And of course, you can read the other points. It's time consuming, integration could be challenged. And if you need to be able to build the entire pipeline for your client or yourself, you need multiple point solutions there. And customization thus could be challenging because you then have to integrate company A with company B and get things to work. And then that brings in, bringing your own IT team. So with all that, now what is it that BotMinds has to offer is what I would cover in the next couple of points. So BotMinds is an AI platform for knowledge process automation. We have an absolute singular mission that we're on, and be the platform of choice to automate document understanding. We are completely towards, being able to extract information from the documents, regardless of whatever type of document that is, and being able to push it either end to end or push it to the workflow that you may already have, which is your already current investment within, RPA. And the other thing that we want to do is that we don't want it to be an annual solution for you or a year-long implementation. We want to be able to do that, within a couple of weeks' time and get you started with the results. So how this translates really is into 3 things. Ours is a SaaS-based, platform, and we deal with all type of structured, unstructured data. That's our key here. That's what we want to do, whether it's your annual reports, your invoices, your lease filings, your research, documents, etc. We want to be able to handle all of that. The second thing that we want to do is that we want to make sure that the training the AI model or being able to create your own AI model should be absolutely simple. Our platform does not require any code. So you just have a simple point and click scenario through which you use our models, multiple models, and then you train with your data. And that gives you end-to-end automation. And in terms of the data, that's usually the biggest challenge with AI, right? I mean, you're looking at a data that, 100,000 data points, million data points over a year before the results come through. Of course, there are multiple advancements. We are not the only ones, doing absolutely, revolutionary things. In certain other cases, this development through ML and NLP already exists, and that's something that we've taken up. We want to make sure that we are able to use that transfer learning. We are able to give you the output through our model within the 100 examples. So you don't need 1,000, 2,000, or 100,000, data points. If you have 100, examples that you can provide, you can use point and click, and then you get your AI model working within a couple of weeks' time. So how does this entire thing work? We essentially start with an unstructured document. So you have the unstructured document, you put that into BotMind's platform, and then you get an interactive content on the right-hand side. And of course, with that, you get a structured summary there. How this looks like within the platform, and I'm going to quickly show a couple of demo and examples as well. But this is roughly what our platform looks like. I mentioned we are a SaaS-based AI platform. So on the left-hand side, you would essentially see a smart document, and on the right-hand side, you would see an extracted summary. Any type of document that is imported onto our platform essentially becomes a smart document. What that really means is that we are then able, we have already done a slicing and dicing. We have put multiple models on it. We have put semantic understanding, table understanding, and all the other models that are required for that specific document to be able to extract that value. And when you extract the value that shows to you on the right-hand side, you have multiple breakdown that is done. So we have document classification, page level classification, etc. And you have the attributes that you specify, and you have the value that you are looking for. And all of this essentially is very, very interactive. So let me show you a couple of examples here. So the very first one is a complex financial document with tables. Now this is a your annual report, 10K filing, financial statements, etc. So on the left that you would see here, we have our data and document that has come through. On the right is the extracted value. So the way it works, and I'll show you in the demo in just a few minutes, is the way that the moment you click on any piece of information, you have a reference point given on the left side of the document, which is a smart document now, that says that this is where I extracted the value. If I see also extract the information row by row. Now it's kind of important to understand why this is so complex, because for humans, it's easy to understand that these are two tables. Each of the tables has 3 columns. This is a shared value, and this is the fair value, or the amount. But for a machine to learn, they will start reading from left to right, or it'll start reading from left to right as a text, and that doesn't make sense, right? So first, being able to identify where in the entire document is a table that needs to be extracted. Is this the right table that needs to be extracted? Then where is the value? What is the description? And so on and so forth. So there are multiple layers that essentially exist for us to be able to extract this information from something that is absolutely a fundamental data that most of the organizations currently use. Let's take a different example now. Moving from tables, let's go to something that is large documents. As you would see, this document has roughly about 500 plus pages, 530 pages to be precise. What's happening here is that we have trained our AI to be able to extract liquidity damages, quantity variation, and commencement of work as an example. And our AI here has pulled out 3 different candidates for liquidity damages. As you would probably notice, there isn't, in this case, there's a heading that says liquidated damages, but usually it is not necessary that it's a, find and replace scenario. It's basically what does the liquidated damage look like? What does the quantity variation look like? And it's not just that, we also have validations built in. So when you pull out the liquidity damages, we extract the dollar value, and then we say, okay, is this within the specified prescribed limit that has been given by the client, by the scenario? In this case, it was sub $5,000, seemed to be okay. And that's why it is marked as green. So the validation is done from the risk loss. Anything that is on the borderline is marked as orange, and the one that is not is definitely marked in red. We also have a human in the loop component built in. So anything that needs to be looked at, or the confidence level is not that high from our AI model, essentially gets passed on to a human to look at. Third example that I would show you here would be in terms of M&A, so on merger and acquisition. And this is on the last piece on the hard to acquire, the dark data zone. This is a free web, right? I mean, this is a press release that is published on some website to be able to extract the information that you are looking for, so that you can make the investment decisions, correctly, is a very, very key piece. Most of these, as far as I know, is being done currently manually, or is being done through web scraping engines, which essentially are a far cry from what an AI literally is, or what a solution should be. So here, it's the same logic. We import the web page, we make it a smart document, and then we extract the values from there. So with that, I would just switch over to a demo. And while I'm doing that, I would really appreciate if you could just indulge me in one more poll and see if you have any thoughts, on this question. The question really is, AI-based solutions and platforms are too complex and expensive to implement. Very simple yes and no. If you could just give me your thoughts around that on what you have seen so far and what your experience is, that'll be extremely helpful for the subsequent conversation. I'll leave it up for 30 seconds. All right, thank you. So I think it's, okay, I was about to say it's very close, but now it's overwhelmingly clear that AI-based solutions are definitely very complex and very expensive to implement. And that's been the understanding, within all the participants who have participated so far. So thank you for that. But it doesn't have to be that way. And that's something I'm hoping to be able to show you, as we move forward. All right, so let's go on to a demo piece. Now, I've got three various scenarios, three case studies with the relevant demos, and I aim to walk them through in the next couple of minutes and show you some examples there. Now, this is an annual report. This is a large investment bank, and a rating agency company, which essentially was handling about 200,000 annual reports every quarter. So very, very large amount of transaction. They were doing most of that, manually. They also have currently all these things coming in multiple languages. So the challenges that they had was they were multiple document types. So every different regulatory reporting requirement was completely different in terms of what the output is required and how the annual reports come through. They come in variety of formats. Yes, they're annual reports, but they come into variety of formats. They also come from different industries. So, you would also need different outputs. So for example, if it's a technology company, they're looking at, total debt, R&D, cash flow, etc. If it's a, airline annual report, they are basically looking at passenger miles, seat occupancy, and utilization to a certain extent. So everybody has a different kind of goal to a certain extent. And what we were able to deliver to this client of ours essentially is a 75% reduction in the overall time spent while running and reviewing these annual reports. And so earlier they were spending anywhere between 4 to 8 hours to complete one annual report. We were able to reduce that down to 2 hours. Of course, our AI would push out the results within a couple of minutes, and then it'll give it to the advisor, who would go ahead and do the rest of the manual work that needs to be done to be able to package that to what they wanted to be delivered to the client. And we were able to deliver up to 80% accuracy within the initial couple of weeks. And this is a very fresh project that we have delivered fairly recently. And the accuracy starting point for BotMinds essentially starts with an 80% plus minus with your 100 examples, and then it goes up from that point onwards. So I'll show you how this essentially looked like. So here is our platform here. You would see multiple, reports which are uploaded, the users which are there, they have been assigned to, and the various workflow stages that it currently is on. So I'm going to open one of the, annual reports here. What it does is on the left-hand side, it, loads up the annual report as a smart report, as a smart document. This one has about 300 pages. And what was required in this scenario was to be able to extract multiple pieces of information, right? So we needed to extract information from balance sheet, from income statement, from cash flow statement, etc. So from balance sheet, there were certain attributes or the key values which were defined, and we were able to, we needed to pull that out. So from balance sheet, it is cash and cash equivalents and being able to find that value. Also, as you would see, the moment I click on the cash and cash equivalents, it actually takes me to that respective page. And you would see here, I'm on page number 158 of this annual report. And the information that I'm looking for has been highlighted. So a reviewer can actually see, what that information is. In terms of total debt, it's lease liabilities. It doesn't really say as a heading that it's a total debt. So, the lease liabilities or any kind of liabilities are part of our semantic engine. So overall, in here, there are a couple of models which are working. There is, a table understanding model. There is a semantic model, and there's an industry-specific model as well. That is working on to understand these statements here. Various of other details are, the currency of unit, income statement. So you go to the income statement and you pull that information out. And regardless of whichever page it belongs to, it'll go ahead and put that out. Now, this is great. We've got all this information coming in on the platform, but what can you do with it? Can we take it out of the platform at the moment? So you would see that, there is we offer our, downstream API integration as well. And you have multiple ways, and you can see that you can extract this into a PDF, into TSV or a CSV format. I will show you here a value extracted into a PDF file. So the moment I click on that, it downloads a PDF file, to me on the screen. I will open that up. And whatever we saw on the right-hand side, this is a format that was required, and this is a very fluid format. So all the information has been extracted, and not just the information, the context as in which page this was picked up from has also been picked up. So let's take an example here. I would go down to the selling and general administration and find out where this 42,434 value came from. So the moment I click onto the page which is being referenced, the reviewer would get the access, would be taken to our platform. That a very specific annual report would be open, and the reviewer would be taken directly to that page, to that line item, saying that this is where this information has been extracted from. So at this point, anytime you want to extract information, you have the ability to do that. You can definitely go ahead and verify that. So it completes your overall verification circle as well. So that's an example, on the annual reports handling tables. I'll take a second example now. This is an example where you have municipal bonds. This is a financial data provider, essentially handling a lot of infrastructure, government bonds which are being issued out. And they want to be able to process multiple documents. They were putting together a portal, which would be available in the market so that everybody can access it and make, investment decisions as required. And they were looking at, hundreds of attributes to be extracted. Attributes are data points that need to be extracted. Roughly looking at about 1 million plus, municipal bonds that need to be handled. And every single municipal bond document really is about 100 pages long. So the challenges here were, if they were to do this manually, they would have roughly spent about, almost a year, 9 months to a year to be able to do this manually with a large team that they would have had to hire. Standardization would have been an absolute issue. And of course, when things are being done manually, you have a lot of non-standard clauses, which are not predefined, kind of can go posed a lot of challenge, as well, because just because it's a variety, a lot of mainstream automation solutions really could not handle that. What we have been able to deliver to them roughly is about an 83% reduction in the overall time spent. So, we brought it down to 2 hours from overall 12 hours of work that they were doing. So the accuracy to begin with, from right out of the box from our system was at about 85%. And with human in the loop, they were able to bring the accuracy down, up to a 90%. Up to a 99%. And roughly offering a 60% cost saving, as against when it is being done completely manually. So I'll show you a demo of that now. So this is all the, municipal bonds, the documents that we have been kind of uploaded here. And when we look at, any one of these documents here, again, same logic, it gets uploaded on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you essentially get the summary of the information, slightly different from what you saw on the previous one, which essentially had all the tables here. Now, what our AI has done is our AI has, identified, our model has identified 3 separate candidates for basic information. And this basic information can exist anywhere in the document. So this is a 140-page document. I can click on the first, information that has been extracted. I'll be taken to the respective paragraph. I click on the second one and I'll be taken to that, location, and so on and so forth. What is interesting to see here is when we go down and look at, the settlement date, The settlement date essentially has no indication, around here identifying that that's a settlement date, right? It's just a date. So that's where the model picks up and say, this is the best candidate for a settlement date. That's the data that you are looking for. And that's the information that, we have, brought that out. Same logic goes, you have, all the other key elements that, need to be extracted and, they are picked out. Once again, same thing goes in terms of extraction as well. You have the ability to extract this document, not just into an Excel file or CSV or a PDF, but also to do a downstream to your API connection. And what I'm trying to show here is that I showed semantic understanding, but it's not just either or scenario, right? You have tables embedded within the document. That's why it's an unstructured document. And you have the ability to just look at everything that's kind of available to pull that out overall. All right, so Ekta's camera is on, so which means I'm short of time. I'm going to push forward from here. All right. So next, if you look at the last example here would be your claim forms. And this is what I wanted to show, just another third variety, very small in terms of a preface here, multiple claim forms that come through multiple types of documents. The essential idea is that these are all long form documents, very complex, and certainly complex in nature, to be able to extract the information from from the structured, semi-structured data as well. And we have recently been able to go ahead and read the checkboxes which exist. So even ability to read boxes, checkboxes, etc. is there. In terms of a classifier, we can, right off the bat classify what type of document this is. So this is a claim form. This could be, your Aadhaar card, your PAN card, or any other kind of, form that is there. And depending upon what kind of document that is, the processing essentially happens. So I'm going to skip forward from the demo and cover the last 2 points that I think would be interesting for all of you. So how do we do essentially these pieces are the 5 pieces here. So we gather the information. So we have the ability to pull out from all the sources. We can monitor for changes anytime that there is a container there. You don't have to upload it afresh. We can monitor that. We read and understand, summarize the data, and of course, at the end, we validate as well. So every single model, every single document essentially goes through these 5 phases. And all I want you to take away from here are that there are 3 key phases here, right? I mean, in the overall AI for document understanding, even if you forget about bot minds, right? The first piece is that you need to be able to capture the knowledge, which essentially resides within the SMEs. So being able to import the documents, and generate, extract the value from there. Then the second part is your knowledge reuse. Once you've extracted that, what is it that we have learned, from the entire training of the AI model, that you should be able to reuse that and generate instantaneous summaries. What I showed you as part of the demo, of course, I had recorded this earlier today so that there's no network issues, but everything was real time, which means that the moment you click on a document, it gets generated on real time and shows it to you. And at the end, the key part that we offer essentially is the knowledge equity, that the model grows over a period of time, the accuracy continues to grow, even if the people change, the SMEs change, they get reassigned, the model essentially retains the entire knowledge, right? So to be able to evaluate any knowledge process automation product platform, I think it should be able to deliver these 3 key areas, right? In terms of a cost saving, you should have a tremendous amount of cost saving because it's not just RPA, it is AI. You should have increased your capacity to a large extent, and then your accuracy should be very, very good, 88%, 90%, and 99%, and up to that extent. So with that, I will hand this over to, Ekta for Q&A.
Thank you, Vikas, for the interesting session. So before we move on to a panel discussion, we are open for the Q&A. If there are any questions for Vikas, he can take that up. So I have already shared the guidelines for the Q&A. You need to raise your hands. I'll take your name, introduce yourself, your organization, and you can put your question to Vikas. So yes, Vikas, we have Vinit who needs to ask your question. Vinit, you can unmute yourself on your video and put your question to Vikas, please.
Hey Neha, hi Vikas. Sorry, wouldn't be able to switch on my video, but would it be fine if I can continue with the
Perfect,
audio?
no worries, no worries.
Yeah, okay. So I come from Accenture, okay, because and my team is called Business Excellence, Business Transformation. So we are into a role that we bring transformation to the client, and like you said, one of your example, that we are one of those organizations that bring, and build those technologies from scratch. But then I really liked your, entire concept, and I'm working on a similar project. So help me understand. There is a question that if we engage you as a third party, as a provider
Yeah.
in one of the large project, and if we are dealing with a financial services client, and you may not be able to take your technology inside the client environment. You may have to build everything from scratch within the client environment, and all the platforms like RPA platform, which could be UiPath in this case, because the client is a UiPath client, and I mean UiPath, uh, owned licenses that exist in the client. And then if you say that you need SaaS, client will get you the licenses of the SaaS platform. Tell me if you will still be able to deliver this product, or this project.
Sure. Sure. So Vineet, thanks for the question. I think what I haven't covered is that we do a deployment on our private cloud or Botmind's cloud, or we can do it on your private cloud as well. So if the client provides, Azure based, SaaS platform for us, we can absolutely deploy. The other thing is key is that the knowledge or the AI component essentially sits within that cloud. It doesn't come back to us and say, what do I do with this? And do I translate that? So when we deploy into a cloud, which is just information stays with you, doesn't really move out, our AI essentially is deployed there.
Okay. So, so because we are dealing with financial services clients, and financial services client has a lot of restriction when we talk
Yep.
about, data privacy, data breach, and, because that is the nature of the industry itself, right?
Yep.
So tell me if you have any solution which is outside cloud, because I have delivered multiple RPA projects which is outside cloud. There is no cloud involved.
Yep.
It is all client IT infrastructure, client hard drives, where
Sure.
everything resides. Tell me if your product can be deployed as a desktop solution, not
As a
necessarily as a,
on-prem solution.
yes, not necessarily
Yeah.
on a cloud solution. So
Sure.
just tell me if there's a restriction, can you handle that?
Okay, so there is no restriction, but we don't have a ready-made, on-prem solution available because nobody's ever, needed that. But we do have all the pieces in our architecture. So if you do need, and that's the only roadblock that says, unless it's on-prem, I will not take it. We've got all the components in the architecture available, and within a short span of time, we can put that together and give you an on-prem solution as well. It's not a restriction from our side.
Okay, got it. Good. Thanks.
Okay, hope the question was answered. Because we have two more person. Kiran has some question. Kiran, can you please ask your question? Or do you wanted him to highlight on few aspects?
Yeah, hi. This is Kiran here from Credit Source. See, there are some, we deal with all with investment banking and wealth management documents. And is there any model of data security, data privacy guidelines you want to share? Because this is kind of information which will actually the first question when we discuss with business, when we are talking about any kind of POC or involving any vendor or a third party. So if you can throw some light on a few seconds on that, that will be helpful to have a dialogue forward.
Sure, sure. Kiran, is there anything specific that you're looking at? Because in my view, the privacy gets covered within the NDA, within the fact that the entire POC will be running on, dedicated cloud or dedicated SaaS, cloud for you. Are you looking for something specific in terms of a technology intervention?
Yeah, because we have about 30% of our platforms now migrating to on cloud, and
Yeah.
some are getting migrated now into
Yep.
Azure. And we want to see how where this model will fit in. Is there any documented architecture where you said there's an API integration available as well? So how this will actually flow? The data will flow from our VNets to your environment, or it's going to come into our environment and into our VNets, and installation will
Sure.
happen.
Sure. That's a good question, Kiran. I'm not equipped to answer this at this moment. Is it okay that I contact you and send you this information? We have documents available. We have information available out of this webinar.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, Because we have one more question, we'll quickly take that question before we move to the panel.
Sure.
We have Kolol Chatterjee. Kolol, can you please put your question to Vikas?
Yeah. Hey, because I'm from S&P, and there is Standards and Poor's in the market intelligence division there. We deal in a lot in financial documents, right? That's the core of our business, and we are also toying with the idea of whatever solutions that you've put together. Two questions from my end. The first one being, once the model is deployed with whatever accuracy, right? So I'm assuming there is a UI that you provide to the customer. What I'm interested to know is, how does that accuracy improve from there? Is there a lot of interaction based between the SME and your folks, or this is just inbuilt in the model that the model is so advanced that it looks at the corrections or the misses that have happened initially, and it learns and then spits out in the future iterations, and
Sure.
that's how you can see the accuracy improvement.
Sure. So thanks, Carl. In this case, I think the first part really is the number of examples that are provided. What I haven't really touched upon is the transparent AI, which means that you are able to see the accuracy level of each of the attributes within the platform, within the UI that I just showed you as part of the demo, to see how accurate a particular attribute is. Now, when I spoke about an 80% accuracy to begin with, you're looking at 100 examples provided for a particular couple of attributes, but there were less examples provided for the other attributes, or the secondary attributes need more than 100 examples just because the model has not been able to get updated to a desired accuracy there. So that's how you're able to look at that. Now, the other interaction that happens is with human in the loop. So once you train the models, point and click training, we also have a bulk training that's available once you've done the initial point and click training. You are able to see what percentage it sits on, and then once you have tagged the correct things within the 100 200 examples, you will be able to start with that starting point of the 80% 85% accuracy. From that point onwards, the moment you put through a human in the loop, which simply says, okay, I have done these documents, I've trained my model today, next 1 month, I'm just going to look at the data and just point the corrections, saying that the information that is supposed to be one paragraph, it's actually picked up one paragraph and a word. So I'm going to go ahead and mention that and say you just needed to pick up this information. The third piece is not really relevant. So that's the training and the feedback training that happens to the model back again, and that is where the model literally improves over a period of time. And that's a constant improvement that'll happen, on the model.
Got it. Thanks, Vikas.
Sure.
Yes, thank you so much, Vikas, for answering the questions. Quickly moving on to the next session, that's our panel discussion. The topic is maximizing automation potential, paradigm shifts to intelligent document processing. Again, I would request Vikas Anand, the Vice President, Sales and Marketing from BotMinds, to please take over the panel by introducing all the panel speakers. Thank you, Vikas,
Sure.
over to you.
Thank you very much. It's still there and more of me left. If you thought it's done with the keynote speech, that's not. So let me start introducing our esteemed panel. We have a great collection here today. I'm going to start with Mr. Lalit, who's joined us. He's the head of business finance at Tech Mahindra. He's a finance professional with over 18 years of versatile experience in business and commercial finance, offshoring, startup business, M&A, and finance transformation. He's worked extensively, in global and cross-cultural teams in IT consulting, banking, and finance industries. Digitization of order and cash process is the current project that Lalit is working on. And he is evaluating technologies like AI, ML, RPA, blockchain, etc. So we can look at an increased finance perspective coming in from Lalit. Lalit, thank you for joining today.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Bharatwaj Ranganathan. He's more popularly known as Barry in the industry. He is a senior director at Capgemini, over 25 years of experience. He's worked with a multitude of organizations, Satyam, GE, then it became Genpact, Amazon, and is currently working with Capgemini. His area of work essentially includes business process, service delivery, operation management, customer relationship, and global delivery. His essential day role includes finding the most optimum solution that gives the biggest bang for the buck for the third-party outsourcing. He helps customers choose the technology, whether it's worth investing in the latest and the greatest, or look at the established technologies that can still be valid for years to come. We can expect a lot of implementation and scrutiny coming in from Barry as he joined them today. Thanks, Barry, for joining in.
Thank you, Vikas, and good afternoon, everyone.
Then we move to Mr. Anup Babu. He is AVP Digital Solutions at Genpact. Comes with overall 19 years of experience. He started, with Putney, spent over a decade with IBM before moving to Genpact. He's worked with teams globally from US, Southeast Asia, Middle East market, and a lot IT delivery, IT solutions focusing on BPM and RPA. He understands different products, delivering solutions to customers, and sees which product has what strengths, and if there are certain other things that need to be addressed to be able to build creative solutions. So we can look at a lot of evaluative from a technology standpoint as the inputs coming in from Anup. Thanks for joining, Anup.
Thank you, Vikas. Looking forward.
And last but not least, I would like to also introduce Mr. Gokul Ganapathy. He's the CEO and co-founder of BotMinds. He started on this journey with BotMinds about 5 years ago. He has almost a decade worth of experience working with leading KPOs, before joining BotMinds, working with architects as an architect with companies like MCS. Comes with a good experience working in the KPE, which is the knowledge processing industry, and information retrieval is basically his core area of work. Gokul, thanks for joining in today.
Thanks, Vikas. Hello, everyone. Looking forward to getting
So we have
insights.
a extremely mixed panel, and that's our effort to bring you different views from different sides. And with that, I would like to kick off, a question. Then I'll start with Lalit to begin with. So Lalit, in your view, what is the art of possible, at this point? And I'll ask the same question to each of our panelists to kick, things off. What's the art of possible? What use cases come to your mind with the capabilities that you've seen, either on the webinar today or in the industry in general, when it comes to document processing and AI?
I think I strongly believe in, like, with this new age technologies which are coming and disrupting all the businesses across all the industries. I think everything is possible. That's how I look at it. And in terms of use cases, there are, I think, anything and everything which is been done on a repetitive basis. So that is something which can be automated. And with the technology that we have spoken about, so in all our businesses, we handle with a lot of documentation, which is now getting digitized. And this is a tool, and there are various other technologies which are available nowadays, which helps us do it more efficiently, so that all our time we can spend on more analytics or areas where technology currently has yet not penetrated. So that's the whole theme. I think everyone is probably working towards that.
Fantastic. Barry, over to you. Barry, you're on mute.
Yeah, looking at how we can use this technology in our world at this point of time is, yes, there is a lot of physical documentation out there at this point of time, and especially in areas which are related to banking, still there's a lot of paper involved, insurance, and there are a lot of contractual documents happening in entertainment industry recently because of how entertainment works is based upon a model where there is royalty fee and participation and stuff like that. So those aspects, they continue to be remaining in paper. So we see a great uptake on intelligent data extraction from documentation. But having said that, I agree with Lalit that customers are going to be looking at it and saying, how long is this going to be, and how will it taper off with more and more digitalization happening in this world? But definitely at this point of time, as the process exists, and assuming that it will be at least a good 5 to 7 years before we see a drastic change in the reduction of paper. I think there are many use cases where we can think a technology like this can be applied, not only in the areas of 10Ks and 10Qs or in annual reports, but in day-to-day processing as well. And I think the fundamental design is on data extraction intelligently. It need not be from a document. It could be, I think it could also be taking out from an Excel sheet, right, when I want it to. So hence, I think I see more application in that area as well. So it need not be a document at all in the future too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Anup, over to you for your comments, please.
Yeah, so from my perspective, right, I mean, of course, with a wide variety of choices that we have today, I mean, there are a lot of possibilities, especially with the amalgamation of technologies. I mean, automation is very interesting, and it's at an inflection point. You have, analytics, you have AI, ML, you have workflow automations, a lot of possibilities. I mean, whether you look at the back office, front office, or even mid office, there are many use cases. Still, we have a lot of Excels, I siloed Excels lying around, siloed Word documents still lying around. So in that sense, a lot of possibility. But the only thing to be, very important is, technology. You should not, underestimate and nor overestimate also. So having and striking the right balance is very important. Having, so you don't set the wrong expectations or set over expectations on that. So that's very important. Having using the right judgment, shifting left in terms of making the right decisions. So in that sense, a lot of things it's absolutely possible, but you have to strike the right balance in that sense. That's all.
Absolutely. Gokul, do you have some comments on this?
Yeah. First of all, bear with me. I couldn't turn on the video. I'm in Chennai, disturbed by cyclone. Sorry, I couldn't turn on the video. So interesting comments by others panelists. But I mean, I'd like to just share one point, right? It's art. I mean, when you say about art and document understanding, it's all about tying together, many capabilities. It's not just one point solution, right, to solve a problem. It's all about tying together different components, different capabilities and technologies. And that's the moment you have to tie together many things, and then you have to take many decisions, and you have to choose, and then it gets into the realm of art. So you have to choose, and you have to choose right, and then you have to mix and match correctly. So that's the comment I want to make. So for example, even in bot minds, we have many capabilities, right? Extracting information from web and reading documents, or giving it to human in the loop. And how you try to, I mean, if I have to wear my solution architect hat, how we can connect it all together to deliver a solution. That's where the art of possibility comes into picture.
Right.
Yep.
Thanks, Gokul. So I want to keep this, focused firmly within the finance realm. So I want to ask, questions starting with Lalit, given his finance, area of work. Lalit, what kind of challenges do you see from a finance side in the type of processes as the processes are being done today? What challenges could exist, whether it's accuracy, time, budget, and the challenges that the organizations or the platforms are trying to, solve for financial industry?
I think there are different, multiple perspectives that how we can look at it. If I just look at it from my area of work, so we are currently grappling with like multiple systems that we have across our organization, which runs across the enterprise process, like order to cash or procure to pay. So integration is one, but within that system, if you look at it, so if the data are not in sync and they are using different terminologies, and also I think that's the basic that one needs to get corrected to really reap the benefit of any kind of automation that we do. Sometimes those things becomes a limitations while implementing these automation solutions. So those are one. So the synchronization of data. Then integrations of various systems and all, because they are being built onto different technologies. I think one of the solutions nowadays is like there is a trend of moving into the cloud-based solution, so which helps getting off from these multiple technology of the past. That's true for many financial institutes, large institutes who are still running on some of these old technologies.
Thanks, thanks, Lalit. I'm going to ask you, Barry, to just add up on that. Given what Lalit has just mentioned in terms of the challenges with various systems, various types of data that is coming in, how do you currently help your clients, which essentially have this very problem of multiple data sources, multiple types of data, multiple systems? What is your view in terms of how you look at solving or suggesting them the solution for this? Barry, you're on mute.
I think
Thanks.
the problem originates because of how the IT landscape has evolved, right? I mean, I started my career when there were no computers in offices and everything was manual in accounting and finance. And finance people, we are all guilty of trying to keep some knowledge tribal. So we don't want to document it. We don't want to share it that often. But that mold is being broken because of outsourcing industry largely. So, and we deal with all kinds of unstructured data and mental notes of certain aspects of it. I think as we are breaking those modes and coming in, how customers are trying to solve data for multiple systems at this point of time is they're trying to create mini data lakes wherever possible within the individual subsystems to extract data, because the power of big data analytics has really been displayed very well now, and there is more hunger towards getting the data into a meaningful way. And I rightly agree about 70% of data is unstructured in the form and shape which we can't use it for any meaningful analysis at that stroke where how it is available. So it's always that's why a lot of accountants love Excel. I mean, they want to pump it into Excel and then play around with it and tweak it and get it to the shape it wants. These are definitely the challenges we're facing, and as systems keep evolving, right? So there are a lot of customers who are like very iffy at this point of time. Hey, we want to migrate to S/4HANA, and we want to take care of some of the problems in S/4HANA and see what remains, and then do something about it. And I also agree to one of the points which Anup made is like there is also this whole thing of people perceiving that if you bring in a particular software or a particular solution, that it is kind of a magical Harry Potter kind of a thing, that all your problems are going to disappear with it. But at the same time, they would want some of the old features in the old tool, which is existing in the new tool. So there is a huge change management issue, which we see when we want to implement something new. And there has to be a level of compromise within accounting professionals to say something new will not have the flavors of it, the old kind. This is like, a very typical Hyderabadi going to Italy and wanting to have pasta with biryani flavor in it. So that's the challenge we have when we do something new in the whole world. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Barry. And just to add on that, I think the challenges that exist that we currently have within the AI RP essentially comes from the fact that everything that we have built so far, whether it's a paper document, has been kept with humans in the mind. Like Barry mentioned 20 years ago, it's just humans looking at stuff. So all the papers, all the forms, all the fields is just so that humans can interact with it. It is never meant for machines. And that's essentially where the challenge lies. But given the fact that in the last, big data thing that we were in the last 10 years or so, the whole pump was able to capture all the data and then process in such a way, digitize in such a way so that, the further technologies can now use that. So with that, Anup, I'll bring a question to you on, with the problem statements that you've heard from both Lalit and the suggestion that you heard from Barry as well, what challenges do you see specifically within an RPA to be able to handle document processing? And a leading question there is, and you can combine both of them, is that what role do you think AI ML can play when it comes down to large documents or document understanding?
Okay. So in terms of challenges, what I've seen in a lot of, and we've heard that, I think reflecting one of the questions, is a lot around compliance and regulation, because see, in an ideal world, we would have had everything neatly integrated structure, but that's never, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Um, we will have, more than two parties to deal with. We'll have multiple parties to deal with. So from that sense, um, data privacy, compliance, regulation, these are all going to continue to be there. How do we kind of work within these constraints and deliver solutions is going to be the frontier that we'll all have to live with. Um, the other aspects around possibilities of AI ML. See, of course, I think the very first thing is crunching large data sets. Right? I mean, that's something that we humans, if I look at it this way, right, we humans have a lot of soft skills, right? Creativity, understanding body language, and all that. So the messaging has to be around getting that value of having humans do that, use their skills, and leave AI and ML for handling large data sets and managing that volume. So if that messaging is rightly done, then a lot of these challenges kind of melt away. So it's important that we bring out that properly formulate that human in loop infrastructure. I'm not a firm believer of unattended automation. We've tried a lot of unattended automation. We've had challenges. So I think we're getting back to that human in loop and having that firmly structured is very important. For automation to succeed, it just cannot be possible that we say unattended automation and things will work. It just will not. I mean, that's my perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. The love affair with everything, the moment I buy RP, everything will happen on its own is kind of done. We are now firmly back on earth, knowing that just getting an RP in place is not enough. You have to do a lot of work. You have to have a COE in place, and all those 9 yards you have to still travel. So great points there. So I'm going to bring it back again to finance and how critical, Lalit, do you think it is to adopt AI or intelligent automation in finance? Do you think it's a wrong place to look at for a solution, or finance should just stick to Excel and not bother about that? Of course, that's a wrong statement, but I want to hear your view on what do you think is the criticality, to adopting automation of different kinds within finance.
I think there is one way to look at it, consciously or unconsciously. Each one of us have started using AI. AI is already embedded in our life through our smartphone that we are using. Chatbot with anything, we are probably most likely interacting with the AI. So having said that, I think even the business is not immune to that. And I personally believe it's just not finance. Every function nowadays will in some form or other have to go and adopt the AI. Machine learning, that's a way forward. It's something like 20 years back when PCs came, the personal computer or the desktop. There was similar euphoria was there at that time. And in some places, like in public sector banks and all, there were strikes to like avoid PCs. And now you see that computing is there in every pocket.
Yep.
Forget about the desk. So I think same way I feel that AI will be a embedded part of every process, every system, and it's a way forward. Sooner or later, I think everyone has to adopt it.
Great. And based on what you've seen today, Lalit, where do you suggest someone within the finance organization, and I'm sticking with finance because that's the topic we defined for today, should get started from? What's the candidates? What's the right place to start from in your recommendation?
I think my personal view is that there is no one fit solution for anyone. So it's a maturity of every finance function, at what level of maturity they are, where their skill set, because human being still is a very important element to play, even to adopt the technology and make it work. So upskilling of the finance function and the change of mindset, that is also very important to even start with. And then look at the maturity, identify some quick wins, have some successes in place so that we just not get carried away with it, and set those priorities and then just build up onto that. That's what
Absolutely.
just my approach would be.
I think these are golden suggestions there, because a lot of people fall into the trap that I was, trying to offer to you on give us 2 words where somebody should start from, but it is the maturity that you have to kind of look into the organization. Barry, looping over to you, when you look at a financial organization and you have document understanding, AI, RPA, what is your recommendation to them? How do you look at them? How do you advise a financial organization to get started on this journey, assuming they're kind of dabbled with some bit of automation and they're doing most of the stuff manually?
Um, I mean, uh, while I have a view, and what we look at personally is um, any organization which is going into a journey of intelligent automation followed by artificial intelligence is what I would say. Because artificial intelligence may not be applicable where you don't have multitudes of transactions or repetitive transactions. So we'll stick to intelligent automation and then go to artificial intelligence. So intelligent automation journey should begin only when you got your ducks in the row. Don't try to throw uh, intelligent automation at a process which is unstructured, which is broken, which has too many handoffs. This is a suggestion, right? I mean, it could be any process, and it again, I would defer to Lalit on that. It depends upon the need of that organization and the space where you are. But you should get your process structured to the extent that it is machinable. And you rightly mentioned this. Even today, a lot of the thought process within the industry and people is, I do this process in A, B, C, D steps. So the machine should do it in A, B, C, D steps. Maybe the machine does faster. We don't realize that the machine did not do A, B, C, D like we do as humans. Because when I'm looking at something, I look at 1, 2, 3, 4 because I'm limited by 2 eyes and speed at which I could think. But we should not try to put the same human element when we are trying to automate the process, intelligent automation process. So that's one thing. Get the process right and make sure it is a machinable process. And I agree with Anup as well. There is nothing like, you can't really say we will do an unattended kind of a bot or a automation. It has to be attended, but you have to make sure that the attention comes in the very beginning or in the very end, because then that is when you can actually release the cost element of the human side of it.
Yep.
If you have to go and touch it every 10 minutes, then you know what? The bot is working and you are also working. So it's faster than accurate, but the cost is not going down.
Yep.
So the manual intervention portions have to be pre or post. So that's the angle I think we would look at when you do a journey of intelligent automation. Get your process in a standard format. Make sure that your inputs, because there was a Hackett study as well. People, because it's the in thing, everybody is jumping into the bandwagon. They're doing botched up projects, which is actually reducing the level of confidence within the organization to embrace this change. So change management is becoming more difficult. So instead of all this, I think if you do get successes in a stepped up approach, don't try to go big bang and try to see that, we're going to buy this AI solution and nothing is going to be there from a human aspect of it. I think it's a step solution. You have to adapt it carefully. And to Lalit's point, one of my uncles was in those strikes with the public sector bank as to they should not bring in PCs and stuff like that. But 20 years later, 25 years later, we see banking has grown exponentially. There are the number of banks then and number of banks now are humongous. The transactions have gone up so much more. So banking hasn't died. So AI and rightly so, the creative aspects of life are still going to remain. You're still going to be doing your soft skills, and you will still decide how the graph is going to look, but the data will be done by AI, and maybe AI will give you solutions based upon your mood as well. So it's a long journey. We will start with intelligent automation and go towards artificial intelligence is what my view is.
Sure. If I could
Maybe
just sum up.
I like to weigh in here the point. I mean, again and again, I'm seeing this problem of thrusting human element, bringing human element into this automation. You rightly said, Barry. To give an example, right? I mean, to classify a document, simplest of the example, to classify a document. Over a period of 10 years, we got thousands of rules, right? I mean, thousands of rules. That's the automation we have. That's the status one one company even. So when we are talking about automation, I mean, we are saying, don't worry about the rules. We are going to learn the rules. Just give us the example, 100 example for each category. We are going to learn the rule. Maybe we will, even our AI will surprise you with a, 1,000 first rule. I mean, you will get surprised with that kind of categorization. So you rightly point, it's going to be a step, transformation. It's not evolving. I mean, so far I'm dealing with 1,000 rules. I want AI to help me with additional, 500 rules or 1,000 rules. No, it's about, a system that comes, learns your documents and understands the expertise you use to classify and then, coming with the solution. So that's well said. I mean, again and again, I'm seeing that challenge when I'm talking to customers.
Yeah. Thanks, Google. I think if I had to summarize all the three views there, we are talking about unstructured documents. There is a solution for it, but there isn't a solution for an unstructured process. So you kind of have to have that process absolutely laid out to a large extent, where the technology definitely pulls through. And so Ekta is back on the screen. That's the cue for me. I want to bring in the last question and give Anup an option to chime in here. So based on a lot of technologies that you have seen in the last couple of years that are coming through, what is your recommendation to the customers, and how do they start adopting a new technology? Should it be kind of a point solution? Should they look at, or of course, Barry has mentioned that it's not a big bang, and that's absolutely right. But what's your recommendation when it comes down to how to look at these various technologies?
Yeah. So I think, see, if you look from an RPA standpoint, there are a lot of choices people have. And every tool, has its, and I said every tool, more or less they perform the functions, the desired, desired objectives. Again, choice of tools should only be done, you choose it based on, you do your POCs and pilots, get it done, convince your stakeholders, and then only move forward. But I don't really have, any specific, tools to really call out, because I think more or less, at least from the top, 5 RPA tools that are in market, we've seen all of them performing, to the desired. Of course, they are also integrating RPA tools are also, for example, you will have Eddie and, other, AI engines that each customers are going after and kind of trying to, build their own ecosystem. I think that will be interesting to watch out for, how well they build their ecosystem and how, these are going to talk to each other. I think that from that standpoint, it's a lot around, taking steps to do, baby steps to do that POCs first. Get that done, convince it, but don't spend too much time thinking on a tool. Is what I would say. Just go ahead, get your POC done, and move forward.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anup, on that. And before I hand it over to Ekta, Gokul, I want to give you 30 seconds, because there was a question that I asked everybody on AI-based solution platforms are too complex and expensive. We have talked about BotMinds, we talked about document understanding. What kind of an ROI timeline does it look like with a platform like BotMinds?
Okay, great. So, I like to build upon the last statement Anup made, right? POCs. So, we are talking about days or weeks, right? To see a result, to see a production ready, or at least 80% accuracy ready for maybe for ready scope. For example, you want to extract 100 attributes from a document, maybe try to do for 10 attributes, create a solution end to end, and then see that how it works. So that kind of speed we are looking at. So to comment on ROI, it's not certainly years or quarters we are talking about. So the pitch or always when I'm talking to customers, you can see a solution, production ready solution, where you can see efficiency improvement, in weeks or days to weeks. So that's a thing. So we are talking about ROI, seeing ROI quickly. So more than seeing results quickly, I want to touch upon that other point, right? The knowledge reuse or knowledge equity, right? So you are, when you're using platforms like BotMinds, where you're creating components, where you're creating an automation solution, the underlying models, you can reuse. You can use, for example, a model you are developing that goes and extracts address from, let's say, web page. For some other, but you can use the same thing to other customers. So you can, bundle it in an artistic way to, so that's the knowledge equity part. That's another thing. You are building assets, right? It's not just ROA within, seeing ROA within weeks. Slowly you are, collecting assets. Slowly you are, standardizing the process. I want to comment quickly on the standardizing part also, right? So standardization, it's a very, very important point, because extracting information from documents, right? You have to rely on knowledge experts, right? So they hard-earned knowledge for a period of 10 years or something. You are even 2 years or 5 years. You're relying on them to extract information from documents. So if you want to automate that, and or if you want to standardize that, that's really challenging, right? So if there is a process where human just looks into it for 2 seconds, and then they're taking a decision, or they're doing the, completing the task, that's low hanging fruit. That's what RPAs are going after. That's what the rudimentary AI systems are going after. But yeah, when we are talking about, a process that takes hours to complete. So that, if you want to standardize that process, when I say standardize, if you want to commit confidently to your customers on the quality and time, then you have to build this AI, these kind of AIs, document understanding AIs. So, and then you have to start accumulating all these models as a library or assets. You can mix and match for multiple customers. So that's where ROI is. You can solve the existing problem quickly, and while you're doing that, you can accumulate the assets which will give you a head start when you're solving for other customers.
Thanks, Gokul, and thanks everybody for pitching in on the panel. I will, in the interest of time, I'll quickly hand over to Ekta. I'm sure there are a couple of questions that are pending for everyone.
Thank you so much, Vikas. Thank you all the panel speakers for sharing your insights. So the audiences, we are open for the Q&A, and as the process mentions, please raise your hands and you can put your question to the respective speakers. So if we have questions, we can quickly take that up.
While we are waiting for the questions, Gokul, can I ask that you address to the question that I did not answer earlier, which was specifically about data security and privacy?
Yeah, okay. So no data leaves your premises or your, so bot mines is can be used in our cloud. Botman's cloud, or we can deploy to the cloud of your choice. And then we can also, as Vikas mentioned, right? So on-prem is on our roadmap. We are working on it. So we have everything ready. So we can work with you to get that deployed. So that's the beauty of Botmine. So it's not relying on anything outside, right? We don't have any services running around to do also. So data resides within your environment, and all the computations, all those things happening within them. So two things, right? The models, what you're developing also, right? It's, because it's very subjective, very domain, your scenario specific or your domain specific. So it's completely, available. The entire, the model acts on the documents also. Scoring also. Most of the people will say, yes, on-prem, yeah, we will train a model, we will, deploy, and then whenever there is a, let's say a prediction, whenever you want to extract, it should hit our API. No, even that last minute transaction also happens within that cloud environment.
Right. All right. I see no more questions. Any questions to you, Ekta?
No, I don't see any questions on chat room as well.
Okay.
We can wait for.
So I want to, yeah, that's fine. I want to open it to our panel, Barry, Lalit, and Anup. If there are any questions that I haven't asked you and that you think is kind of critical and important for you to share with the audience so that it can help them in all the things that we've discussed, please go ahead with that.
So
go ahead.
I had one question.
Sorry, go ahead, Barry.
Go ahead.
No, I think, see, there is this, and even in your survey, it came out, Vikas, that people think it's very expensive. The reason why things become expensive is because you're not clear as to what specs are, at some point of time. There's huge cost overrun. You're not able to have a proper PDD or a SDD which follow through. And these are some of the things which I've seen in my experiences where some of the bots have taken ages to build, and they have not come out with the kind of efficiency which was originally promised at that point of time, which we thought it was. So I think it is very critical to make sure that there's a lot of, I mean, this is the most effective planning with ruthless execution has to be there for you to get the ROI, because otherwise what will happen is you can be an evangelist for intelligent automation and not do it very well and lose the faith in the larger organization or the client space. I think this is what I find in my experience as a learning, which I want to pass on, because you have to be very clear when the ROI is going to come, because you are also dependent on a third-party client, right? And especially in our world where we service a lot of third-party customers, we have to deliver also to get the benefit out. So if we don't do it properly, then we are all at the stick end of it rather than the carrot end of it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Barry. Anup, did you have something to add?
Yeah, no, so I think probably just to add on to what Barry said, I think one of the success, I mean, key success measures, is really performing, understanding the performance, what business benefits. And what I've seen is, and this is one area that I've seen in a lot of the RP tools, you'll have a lot of insights and all that, but that's, it's kind of restricted to the bot operational metrics and, how the bot performs, what are the failure rates and all that. But where the true, insights come in terms of, for example, let's say, same day processing, right? What is the, that's a very important metrics. You go from, processing 20 items in a day to going to 40 items in a day. So getting that insights, it's very difficult for businesses or clients to really understand and measure that performance. I think somewhere around that, successful platforms, if they're really able to bring that business insights, and it happens only after the bot runs, after the bot probably runs for a month, 2 months, you really start seeing that insights. A lot of it still is manual, collecting that, business insights, first time right rates, your error rates, your compliance rates, bringing some automation around that insights, something like a balanced scorecard. That's something that, customers really are now wanting, because everyone's questioning the investments on RPA. Yeah. So how do you justify that? So that's probably one of the most important, things we need to focus on in next RPA deployments.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anup. So I think if I could just summarize both the views here, essentially is start small, don't expect, the world from it because it's going to solve all the problems, and then start with something that is, that's absolutely mature within your organization. So that'll be the key to start any kind of automation, whether it's document understanding or through the RPA journey. All right. With that, Ekta, I'll hand it over to you. We are at the close of the time.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. As you've already summarized, but here I would like to add a little bit. So we all have understood how automation has proven time and time again to be both an effective tool and a strategy to resolve administrative burdens and customer responsiveness. Now, businesses all over the world have embraced digital transformation, which has further helped in automating digital data in financial business tasks. One of them being document management that allows them to go paperless and automate document-related activities. So this was all. And to all the audiences, we will be sharing the feedback form with you, which also mentions one-on-one brainstorm virtual meet with BotMinds. You can mention your interest there and we can connect you with BotMinds. And now at the end, I would like to thank our partner BotMinds and all our thought leaders, Mr. Anup, Mr. Lalit, Mr. Bharatwaj, Mr. Gokul, and Vikas, of course, for taking out your precious time and being here. Not missing the lovely audience. Thank you for your precious time and making this a quite engaging webinar. I hope you had a great session interacting with the speakers as well. We shall be updating the video link on the website shortly and requesting you all to please respond to our feedback forms because it really helps us to improve with each webinar. Kindly follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for webinar and various event updates. Thank you once again all, and be safe, stay safe. That's all from my end.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bharat, Lalit, Anup. Thank you.